Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're heading to Belur, India, to uncover a staggering secret hiding in plain sight for 900 years. The Chennakesava Temple. Commissioned way back in 1117 CE by King Vishnuvardhana of the Hoysala Empire, this masterpiece took over 3 generations, literally 103 years to finish. But, this isn't just some story about time and patience. It is a story of absolute architectural mastery that honestly totally defies our understanding of medieval capabilities. We're going to look at how these ancient builders manipulated solid rock in ways that seem to require modern machinery.
Now here is the big mystery we are investigating today. How on earth did the Hoysala Empire achieve such perfect, machine-like precision centuries before modern power tools were even a thought? When you actually look closely at the columns and carvings here, you're seeing perfectly symmetrical, mirror-like finishes and these crazy, intricate geometries. Today, you'd absolutely need an advanced CNC machine or a diamond-tipped cutting tool for that. Yet they pulled this off in the 12th century. No computer-aided designs, no electrical grids. So how did they do it? It really forces us to rethink everything we kind of just assume about human progress in medieval engineering.
Well, our guided tour starts from the outside, literally from the ground up, with the foundation. It's known as the Jagati, and it completely breaks away from those standard, rigid, rectangular floor plans. By elevating the entire structure on this massive, wide platform, the builders basically did 2 things. First, they gave the temple this sweeping, majestic presence. And second, they created a broad, open-air pathway for devotees to walk around the monument clockwise, a path known as a pradakshina. But honestly, it's the shape of this platform that really sets the stage for the genius to come.
And this brilliantly illustrates that shape, the stellate or star-shaped ground plan. It doesn't just look incredibly dynamic, it actually creates maximum surface area for a dramatic play of light and shadow across the sculptures. Look at how those zigzag walls are formed. That wasn't just a stylistic choice. By folding the walls into a star shape, the architects exponentially increased the canvas space available for their sculptors. So as the sun moves across the sky throughout the day, different deities carved into the walls catch the light at different angles. It makes the entire building feel absolutely alive, like it's in constant motion.
So how do they pull off this level of detail? Well, the crucial point here is their secret ingredient, chloritic schist. We usually just call it soapstone. It is a completely paradoxical material. The builders deliberately pivoted away from the hard granite and sandstone that neighboring empires were using. Why? Because when this soapstone is first pulled fresh from the earth, it's incredibly soft. We're talking butter soft. Artisans could carve it almost like they were carving wood or ivory. But here's where the magic happens. Once it's exposed to the atmosphere over time, it undergoes a chemical change and hardens to the strength of steel. It literally locks those delicate carvings in place for nearly a millennium.
Because of this amazing shape-shifting stone, artisans weren't limited to blocky, rough shapes. Take a close look at these celestial figures known as madanikas. They are carved with literal hair-thin details. You can clearly see the embroidery on their clothes, the individual beads of their necklaces. There's even a sculpture of a woman wringing water from her hair, and you can see the individual water droplets rendered in the stone. It's wild. It is a level of storytelling and ornate detail that is simply unparalleled, basically transforming massive epics into delicate, lifelike woodwork, but in solid stone.
Section 2. The mechanical genius inside the Navaranga Hall. Let's step inside through these intricately carved doorways and see how this incredible artistry builds into some mind-bending, heavy-duty industrial ingenuity. Okay, to understand how they made the perfectly round interior pillars, you have to picture this totally fierce indigenous hack. Think of it as an ancient elephant-powered CNC machine relying on pure rotational mechanics and friction. Based on historical engineering analysis, we know they didn't carve these round pillars by hand. No way. Instead, they mounted stone blocks, weighing several tons, mind you, onto a central axis. Then, they rigged up a massive wooden pulley system powered entirely by the sheer brute strength of elephants walking in circles. This spun the multi-ton stone at terrifyingly high speeds. Then, a highly skilled artisan would just hold a heavy chisel at a fixed angle against the spinning rock. That high-speed rotation and friction cut the soapstone like butter, carving out millimeter-accurate grooves.
The result of this massive animal-powered lathe is just staggering. 48 completely unique pillars boasting a smooth, machine-like precision that totally defies what we think 12th century tech could do. Because of that lathe technique, the circular grooves are completely flawless. After shaping them, they used a uniquely fine abrasive to give the stone a mirror-like polish that, amazingly, still shines today.
And get this, laser analysis has actually shown that many of these columns are partially hollowed out stone. That allowed light to pass right through hair-thin foliate carvings. Honestly, it's something that seems utterly impossible without modern laser cutting tools.
Let's compare two of the most famous pillars here because they showcase engineering that basically seems to defy logic itself. One of them balances perfectly without being anchored to the ground, and the other could freely spin. So on the right, you have the gravity pillar, standing proudly out on the star-shaped courtyard platform. It actually has zero foundation beneath it. None. It relies entirely on a perfectly calculated center of gravity and its own massive weight to remain standing upright, absorbing centuries of minor tremors and weathering. But while the gravity pillar is all about perfect stillness, the famous Narasimha pillar on the left takes mechanical engineering straight into the realm of motion.
So, the Narasimha pillar isn't just a rotating marvel. It's an intricately layered masterpiece. It's filled with these tiny, hollow shrines that allow light to pass right through the stone. Standing a massive 30 feet tall, the pillar is packed with mythological narratives, like this tiny carving of the churning of the Milky Ocean. But here is the absolute most astonishing part. Historical records and architectural analysis strongly suggest this massive column originally sat on stone ball bearings. Yes, you heard me right, ball bearings. That meant this colossal, multi-ton stone pillar could literally be pushed and rotated on its own axis by human hands. Unfortunately, some later restorations broke that delicate mechanism, but the sheer ambition of the original design is just mind-blowing.
Finally, let's look straight up at the ceiling. Here, the builders created this awe-inspiring, floating, geometric dome. And they did it using progressively smaller, concentric rings of stone instead of a traditional arch. See, they didn't have the technology to build a true Roman-style arch with a keystone. Instead, they used a corbelling technique. They meticulously stacked rings of stone, making each one slightly smaller than the one below it, until the gap at the top was closed. And right at the very center of that gap, they suspended an incredibly ornate stone pendant. It hangs down to the room exactly like a heavy, magnificent stone chandelier, featuring these precise geometric patterns that practically mirror the complexity of the cosmos.
After the turbulent periods of the 13th and 14th centuries, the secret to creating these heavily machined, perfectly polished, intricately hollowed soapstone pillars just vanished. Even later empires who prized these columns as collector's items couldn't figure out how to replicate them. The Chennakesava Temple remains this stunning, silent witness to an era of explosive technological and artistic brilliance that we are, quite frankly, still struggling to fully comprehend today. Seeing these impossible lathe-turned pillars and floating ceilings, we really have to ask ourselves, are we looking at an advanced, ancient technology that was tragically lost to time?